Coming off the backs of what were, without a doubt, the greatest Spider-Man games ever made, Insomniac said that they still weren't done because they went right back to go cook some more. I really have to applaud them here because they set a pretty high bar with the previous games. Sony's, Marvel's, Insomniac's original Spider-Man in 2018 was already revolutionary in the way it nearly perfected the formula. And on top of that, they remained honest to the character and told the most Spider-Man story that they could think of, even though it was relatively grounded. Miles Morales came in later and fleshed out his own personal story, as well as a few new tweaks to the gameplay that not only made it more fun to play, but also more unique to Miles. I've talked more in depth about them in my previous videos, so feel free to check those out before or after watching this one. Today, I really just wanted to talk about why I personally enjoyed the game so much. I've given you all ample time to play the game by now, but I'll still give you a spoiler warning for this video, so, well, you've been warned. I'll go ahead and get this out the way now. Marvel's Spider-Man 2 is insane. I mean, it takes just a little bit of time for the addiction to set in, but when it gets moving, it gets moving. That doesn't mean it's perfect. I mean, I love the hell out of most of it, but it's definitely not flawless. Most of the elements that made the first two games so exciting to play were dialed up too. Hell, they even dialed up the Mary Jane portions of the game, because, you know, that's exactly what we've waited years for. The Mary Jane portions. Spider-Man 2 is very bombastic compared to the first couple games, especially the original in 2018, where Marvel's Spider-Man is relatively grounded and emotional, and the biggest challenge was a mega genius looking to prove a point and some other human, quote-unquote, tame supervillains working together to get revenge on a mayor. Well, you could throw all that out the window for Spider-Man 2, because now we're dealing with a fucking alien parasite hell-bent on spreading throughout the planet after getting ghosted by Peter, much like a man does after he gets his heart broken for the first time. Not to mention that psycho bitch by the name of Kraven the Hunter running around fiending for a motherfucker to kill him, with the fun caveat of him wanting you to really work for it, you know, because he's got a 90-day rule, so you can't call him a He even makes a point to kill some of the Sinister Six when he comes into town, so he can be the only one who gets to lead you on. The game starts by having you deal with the goddamn Sandman doing his best natural disaster impression by airing out damn near the whole city. He wants to be a hurricane so fucking bad. I mean, I'm gassing it a little, but he really did start acting out from the jump, and all just to get away from that psycho bitch Kraven. The inclusion of Sandman at the beginning, to me, was an indicator that the game devs tapped in a bit more into the, wealth of resources that even just the Spider-Man comics have to offer. You've got the aforementioned Kraven, you got Wraith, Venom, Agent Venom, Anti-Venom, and even fucking Scream. These are characters that I, as a comic book casual, don't come around very often, except when I'm watching videos from Comics Explained. I really love that guy. Even just swinging around the city in the original Spider-Man and Miles Morales seemed pretty peaceful compared to Spider-Man 2. Back then, all you really had to worry about was some possibly powered up criminals doing hood rat with their friends and some police brutality. Now you've got Kraven's goons running around being a bad influence on Manhattan crime that already had its own issues, cultists obsessed with fire for some reason, and symbiotes being a menace throughout the entire city. I love how they even incorporated the character switching feature GTA 5 executed so well, allowing you to play as Miles Morales and Peter, mostly whenever you like, allowing you to beat the shit out of everyone with your pick of Spider-Man. That feature is emphasized with missions that can only be completed by one or the other. When shit really hits the fan, it turns into an all-out apocalypse where you have the symbiotes smeared all over the city, infected people terrorizing anyone and everyone, Kraven's goons hunting the symbiotes, and the D1 haters consisting of Triple J and Oscorp blaming it on Peter, because, of course.
We must then turn our sights to the people responsible for putting us in harm's way to begin with. I'm talking about Oscorp and, of course, the Spider.
It helps that swinging around the city has been drastically improved, even just by adding one crucial feature: gliding. Oh my, the gliding is so fun. Don't get me wrong, the swinging is still amazing, especially with the new swinging mechanics like the loop-de-loop, but nothing, I mean nothing tops the gliding. There's nothing like using the little wind streams that serve as superhighways across the city that could cover a lot of ground at times. You'll even have plenty more opportunities to put it to good use, seeing as they've even expanded the map to include Queens and Brooklyn. The second they introduced it in the game, I was obsessed, but I mean, that's just one part of the improvements that made it into Spider-Man 2. As far as the skills in general, I mean, they're refreshing. The skill tree has been divided into abilities just for Miles with his overpowered ass, abilities just for Peter, which are kinda boring before he gets the symbiote, and abilities that they both share. I don't really care what anyone else says, the best skill has to be the wall thrash, where you can just completely obliterate an enemy on the wall. There's just something satisfying about the moment you get the symbiote though. Oh man, Peter goes mask off. He gets much more violent, aggressive. He finally stops acting like he's pulling his punches and starts putting each and every single one of these niggas in a pack. He even starts putting a little bass in his voice, an aspect that was highlighted way back since the gameplay trailers dropped.
The beast could be anywhere. You have no idea.
I have a bit more to say about Black Air Force Spider-Man, but more on that later. Almost entirely across the board, new features have been added or refined, like getting to brutally jump motherfuckers with any of your homies nearby, and the best boss fights any of Insomniac's Spider-Man games have ever had. To the ones that we really didn't ask for, like Mary Jane receiving training from Silver Sable, allowing her to be a bit more useful during her portions of the game. There's even a segment during the Black Suit Saga towards the end of the game that at least attempted to play like a survival horror, as she's trying to escape Peter after he'd lost his goddamn mind. And as she's trying to navigate through the symbiote's nest. At least it shows effort, I guess, for better or for worse. I will say this though, the gadgets are complete as compared to the first game in my opinion. I really don't use them in combat all too often, even going so far as to forget they're there sometimes. I mean, the ricochet webs are pretty cool I guess, but not enough for me to use them a lot, and the end game concussion burst is great for the symbiotes, but to me that's pretty much it. Again, that's just my opinion, so if you disagree, that's completely up to you. I personally don't care. I objectively believe the story of the first Spider-Man was the best. The more emotional aspects of it really resonated with me, an aspect that's present but not to the same extent in Spider-Man 2. It's a little chaotic, but it follows the Spider-Man as Peter is trying his best to get and keep a job, and Miles as he's trying to apply for college and adjust to the death of his father, all while having to protect the city on a day-to-day basis. This already delicate balance is fucked to all hell as soon as Kraven and the Hunters stroll into town looking for an opponent worthy of taking his life. The squad now has to deal with Hunters running around the city, tracking down the villains from the last game with guest appearances from the Lizard, Sandman, and Mysterio, Peter being side quested by a potential job opportunity that coincides with the too good to be true arrival of his best friend Harry, who was just cured of his disease from the last game by the effects of the newly discovered symbiote, and Miles struggling with doing the right thing by not sliding for his father. Things go from bad to worse when Peter dies in a way that can only be described as somehow, as Kraven stabs him after his Spidey sense decided that it was just going to take some PTO, I guess. Peter is only saved by the symbiote right off of Harry's back, turning Spider-Man into a Black Air Force menace, and Harry into a certified hater. And Peter didn't make it hard either. I mean, you really get to see him quickly go from wanting to save Harry by getting the suit off of him to treating everybody horribly and talking out his ass after he was influenced by the symbiote.
Why don't you pop some more pills and say what you're really feeling?
Hey, don't.
I'm busting my ass out there trying to save you, and this is what I get?
I said don't.
I saw your story.
I tried to tell you about that.
Yeah, but you didn't, did you?
I can't lose this job.
Your job is to write the truth.
I did.
The truth is, I'm the hero here, not you.
Me personally, I wouldn't take this level of disrespect.
He legitimately becomes horrifying, even going so far as to nearly kill Mary Jane in one of the most thrilling portions of the game. As Peter's experiencing this quarter-life crisis, Miles really goes through it as he has to overcome the idea of his mother starting to move on, the thought of Martin Lee even so much as breathing without paying for his sins with his life, and college applications. He goes through much more of a traditional coming-of-age tale, I suppose. Fortunately, it's Miles who was able to put an end to Peter's time with the symbiote by giving that motherfucker the hands. It doesn't end there though. That hating ass Harry gets his hands back on the symbiote, now fully on Grime because it just got its heart broken, proceeds to give that thirsty Kraven what he's been begging for this whole time when he becomes a symbiote, and completely fuck up the entirety of Manhattan, turning it into something a lot of people might consider hell, all before getting his ass jumped by Miles and the newly formed Anti-Venom Peter to put an end to all that nonsense, saving your best friend and the entire city. I especially love the theme of redemption that permeates Spider-Man 2. You have Sandman trying his best not to cause trouble and live a peaceful life with his daughter. Knowledge that you have to earn by searching for each of his memories around the city and putting that together piece by cherished piece. Martin Lee gets to take that first step towards atoning for all the pain he's caused, especially to Miles, an effort that culminates in the creation of the Anti-Venom suit, the very thing that helped save so many lives, and serves as a straightforward representation of that redemption. You get to help stop Mysterio from being sucked back into a life that he desperately wants to free himself from, despite being pushed to do so by the wrong influences. Details you discover by helping him fix all of his busted attractions. He beautifully describes the nuance of a villain and a hero himself.
Mysterio will always be a villain, just as Spider-Man will always be a hero. It's when you start looking at the people behind the masks that things get messy.
Sony's, Marvel's, Insomniac's Spider-Man 2 isn't perfect. There's a few things I definitely feel could have been done better, but damn, what we got was pretty fucking amazing. And with the inclusion of the teasers from the Spider-Verse movies, Silk, the Green Goblin, and even Carnage, which was my personal favorite edition, I look forward to the next addition to this story. I'd love to know what you liked or even disliked about Spider-Man 2 down in the comments below. I had plenty of fun playing this game and making this video, so if you enjoyed it, like the video and subscribe to my channel for more video game content. I'll see you in the next one.